Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back in to another edition of Astros Recap. It is Sunday night, 11 or 10:54 p.m., May the 30th. So one more day of May, and then we'll roll into June here. But another week is in the books for the Astros. This will be an interesting week to talk about, no doubt. Obviously, tough part of the schedule as they played the Dodgers on Tuesday and Wednesday, off days Monday and Thursday this week, and then a three-game set with the Padres over the weekend, and now we have Boston for four. All at home though, so that's sort of the good news. But the Astros haven't gotten the homestand off to such a great start, losing Tuesday, but winning Wednesday to split the series with the Dodgers, and then losing Friday and Saturday, and then at least salvaging a game today. So I'm not in as bad as a mood I would be if the Astros had gotten swept or just lost today. So I think I can get through this podcast without going completely crazy like I have in previous podcasts. But it's a recurring issue for the Astros. Their bullpen just cannot find a way to get it done. It's just I just don't see this as an easy fix. Now the Astros obviously dealing with some injuries now. Lance McCullers goes on the IL, but they do get Framber, Valdez, and Jake Odorizzi back. They both started on Friday and Saturday. They get Urquidy back tomorrow, so sort of some quick returns. I think Odorizzi was about right with my timeline, but Framber, I thought that'd be well into June before we got him back, and I hadn't heard an update on the Urquidy. But when he went down with a shoulder issue, I thought that would be at least a month. So he got one rehab start in, and I guess he's ready to go tomorrow. So that's good news in the forefront for our starters. And that also helps our bullpen, I believe, because now we can send a few guys. Obviously, with McCullers hurt, I mean, that's just the annual injury list. I mean, every year McCullers is going to go on that IL. So just hopefully this is not an extended. I don't even know what his injury is. It wasn't like it happened while he was pitching, like it did with Odorizzi. Of course, Valdez broke his finger, like the first inning of spring training, his first start, and of course Urquidy. Yeah. So I mean McCullers, I don't really know the issue. Hopefully it's nothing serious, or just giving him sort of a break, I guess. But if we had, I mean, if they had McCullers, they could really send three guys to that bullpen from the starting staff. Obviously, Javier has been moved to the bullpen, which I think is beneficial. But yeah, so when they'll send somebody else, I would assume, with their Urquidy back in the rotation. I actually think Garcia should, like, if I'm managing and I'm calling the shots here, I think Garcia, with the way he's pitched, I think he should stay in the rotation. I'd be more convinced to throw maybe like I don't know, it'd be a tough situation there. But I mean, you have a long, like, Brandon Belak, who actually just got optioned to AAA, and they brought up Nivaldo Rodriguez. It's just a fresh arm because the Astros have gone through so many bullpen pitchers. But Belak's sort of the long man there. I mean, you had Javier, which I think he's valuable in our bullpen. But I mean, if you had Luis Garcia, you're just adding another longman. I mean, we need somebody that's going to help us, I think, in the mid to late innings that can give you a good shutdown inning. I don't think Garcia is that guy. Now, I've said that McCullers is that guy. In fact, I would send McCullers to the bullpen and say, listen, I don't care whether you like it or not, but this is where we need you. This is where we need the help, right here. That's what I would do. But I know Dusty Baker, I know the Astros won't do that, but I mean, I would feel much better with our bullpen now when we have Javier and McCullers and Presley and a mix of Stanek, and if we had that in the back end, I'd feel a lot better about the bullpen, but that will never happen, which is a mistake in my eyes. But anyway, so the Astros, yeah, they lose on Tuesday. This is a pretty bad game all around. Kershaw really just shut down the Astros. Greinke wasn't great. I have to go back here. Let's get the phone here. We'll see. They do lose this game 9-1, so this was never really in doubt. This wasn't a typical Astros bullpen fails them late, and they had quite a few of those on Friday and Saturday here. But yeah, they just really lost this from the start. I have to go back find this here. So 9-2 is actually the final. The Astros scored a meaningful run in the ninth inning, but it was scoreless after 3. The game was sailing along. It was really 9 up, 9 down for each side. So Greinke and Kershaw were battling it out early, but Greinke ran into some trouble. He had 3 walks, which is kind of high for him, but he walked a batter and then gave a 2-run home run to Justin Turner, which sort of gave him a 2-0 lead early. And at that point, it's like, well, But Kershaw really settled in. The Astros really never had a chance, it seemed like, in this game. So, but yeah, Turner hit the big 2-run home run there, going the opposite way to give him the early lead. And then Taylor had a 2-run single, scored a Justin Turner and Max Muncy. And they were up 4-0. Wild pitch, scored another run. So it was 5-0 there in the top half of the second. Greinke only went, I said top half of the fifth, I believe, or the sixth. I said top of the seventh, right? Yeah, top half of the seventh. It was 5-0. So I just lost my way there for a second. Anyway, Greinke actually went 6 innings, but 4 earned runs. Like I said, walked 3, struck out 5. Got the loss, was not very good. But Joe Smith comes in, guy I mentioned last week. I wanted to see a little bit more of him, but he's proving that he's not a good option. He gave an earned run, hit, run it was earned, 2/3 of an inning. Paredes came in. God, he's so bad. 3 earned runs, walked another batter, struck out a guy, but Paredes is just. He's unusable, I feel like, at this point. In fact, he got sent back to AAA to make room for Odorizzi on Saturday. Of course, Bryan Abreu went on the IL, so they brought him right back up. You're just replacing a bad pitcher with a bad pitcher, basically, is all you're doing. But yeah, there was that. Kent Emanuel came in. He walked a guy on 4 pitches and then got pulled because he's hurt. So Emanuel goes on the IL. Dusty Baker. I could really go through each one of these games and tell you. I could go A, B, C, D, or just number the number of mistakes that Dusty Baker has made. I'm going to try to be easy and just go with the most important mistake he made. But this goes back to the whole thing with Kent Emanuel. The dude takes over more than a month ago after Odorizzi gets hurt after getting 1 out, goes 8 2/3, gives up 2 runs, and he's phenomenal. And Dusty Baker makes the right decision by keeping Emanuel in the bullpen, but I've talked about this before, just doesn't use him. Emanuel sees mop-up no meaningful time. And you got people like Brooks Raley, who fell back to basically who he is this week, but you throw guys out there like Brooks Raley who can't get it done, and Emanuel, who's another lefty, never gets a chance. That makes absolutely 0 sense. 0 sense. So that's a issue I have. Of course, Emanuel comes in this game, and the Astros are already down a ton at this point, but he walks a guy, and then something's not right, and he gets taken out, and now he's on the IL. So you had that in the bullpen there. And then Andre Scrub, another guy, comes in, goes an inning and a third. He's like Paredes. He can't throw strikes. He walks 4 guys. Amazingly, only gives up 1 earned run. But, we really never had a chance. You want to bring those guys in at that point. They're already down so much. It really doesn't matter. They just added insult to injury, I guess. Didn't really show you. With a lot of these pitchers, when you can't get things done late in games, getting an opportunity to sort of try to build your confidence back up by pitching in a low-stress situation, whether the Astros are up a ton, down a ton, but they're the same guys, basically. Nothing changed. Whether it's a tight game and they blow the lead, or they're down a ton or up a ton, they're the same the same pitchers. So Whether there's pressure or no pressure, it really doesn't matter with this bullpen. They're just going to disappoint you time and time again. And that's the conclusion I've come to. So, but that game, the bullpen, even though it was bad, did not cost them that game. The inability to hit off Kershaw and Greinke's poor performance was really what hurt him, I feel like. But they do get the win on Wednesday. This was, I think, very important for them to get the split here. I did not want to lose 2 to the Dodgers at home. So I actually thought this was a pretty important game as far as May games go. But getting the split, of course, Bauer was pitching. We know the whole feud there with Bauer, the Astros, and Altuve hit a leadoff home run. We actually scored 3 runs in the first inning, so Altuve had that 2-run home run. And then, let's see here. Gurriel also hit a 2-run home run. So Altuve, 2 home runs to give him a quick 3-0 lead in that first inning, which was good there. Luis Garcia was great in this game. In fact, he was the player of the game here because he got through 6 innings, only giving up 1 run. There was a missed play that actually scored that 1 run. So I just lost my place here. But Garcia, this was a big start for him. The one run he gave up was unearned. Struck out 7, walked 1 guy. Lowered his ERA all the way under 3 now at 2.93. And he's 3-3 on the year. So Garcia's a guy, like I said, I'd keep him in the rotation. I mean, I would not move him. I feel like he's done a very good job. He's 0-3, a lot of tough luck losses with the bullpen blowing games for him. So his record should be better than what it is, but it's not terrible. It's 3-3, and his ERA is under 3, which is better than a whole lot of our pitchers. In fact, he might have the best ERA of any starter right now on the team. So he was good. Raley came in, got a scoreless inning, struck out a batter. So Raley continued, at least to this point, his sort of consecutive scoreless innings are just being better. But again, I told you if you got the ERA to 3, somewhere in that vicinity, I'd finally give him credit. So there's that. Stanek came in, allowed a home run, but it was still 5-2 at that point. And then apparently, you're up 5-2, so it's a save situation. Apparently, didn't realize this at the time, but Ryan Presley had a stiff neck or whatever, so he was dealing with that. So he was unavailable. So who do you go with in the 9th inning? I don't understand it, but Bryan Abreu gets the opportunity, and he did not make things easy for him. He gets 2 outs, but then he, 2 quick outs, but then he walks back-to-back hitters. He brings up the tying run, which is Albert Pujols, which actually is an easy matchup for a lot of pitchers now because Pujols just isn't very good anymore. And he does strike him out to end the game, but if Bryan Abreu had blown that, that is a big issue. Dusty Baker got away with this decision. So Dusty Baker will make bad decisions he gets away with, and then he'll make bad decisions that don't work out. And yeah, I have no faith that Dusty can make the right decisions. Now, Dusty has a tough job because there's not a whole lot of wiggle room in the bullpen. There's really nobody that you give the ball to aside from Presley and say, hey, I trust you to get through this. So, he's but you have to work with what you have here. And, other than Abreu, you use Stanek correctly. Brooks Raley had been pitching well to this point, so you used him correctly. But I would have, let's see here. I would have gone to Bielak to get 3 outs there. I would have gone to anybody, Bryan Abreu, and I said this last week, Abreu, Paredes, and Scrub should not see any meaningful inning until proven otherwise going forward, because they just all either can't throw strikes. Well, yeah, they all can't throw strikes, and then when they do, they get hit hard. So I just couldn't believe that I saw Bryan Abreu in that 9th inning. That was just mind-boggling to me, and Dusty continues to amaze me. A guy that's managed for like 20-plus years and he tries these same people in the same situations, and they continue to fail, yet you continue to go to him. It's amazing to me. It really is. And we're not done with Dusty. There's a lot more we're going to lay into him about here going forward here. Friday, the one bullpen guy you got is Ryan Presley. And I'll actually save, and I'll talk about this in a minute here, because Friday's game, they actually go to extra innings. So what happened here, this was Fromber's first start back, which was good. Real quick, so Wednesday they win that game 5-2. Yeah. Off day Thursday. So they were able to split with the Dodgers, which I said was important. Now you got San Diego, another very good team coming in here. And they actually led this game early on as Chas McCormick has been played a lot lately. They put Michael Brantley in the IL, so talked about the pitching injuries, but Brantley's on the IL. So they brought up like Robel Garcia. I'm not even sure who they brought up. It's somebody who really hasn't played yet. Or Taylor Jones. Taylor Jones is just a disgrace to Major League Baseball in general. We'll talk about him here in a few seconds too. Taylor Jones he's on the SHIT list right now. And I mean, this is a long time coming for me. Even going back to last year. I'll get into this in a minute as well, but McCormick has played pretty well. I mean, the average isn't there, but when it comes to him and Straw, look at things here. Miles Straw is actually working the average up. It got up to 240 there for a little bit, so he's been doing a little bit better in terms of that, but offers you no power. And, I mean, he plays an okay center field. I think he's been sort of unfairly treated out there because he doesn't play a great center field, but a few of the plays he's missed have not been easy opportunities. So, and McCormick hasn't really shown us, really anything to be upset with him at in terms of him playing the outfield. But I would imagine when Brantley comes back, McCormick will see some more opportunities instead of Straw. But McCormick had a big 2-run home run after they allowed a home run in the first to give us the lead, 2-1. Stayed that way for a while. Fromber, labored a little, only went 4 innings. Of course, he was going to be limited to some aspect. 2 hits, 1 run, it was earned. He had 2 walks, struck out 4. But his home run he gave up was to, let's see here. The home run he gave up was to Tommy Pham, in the first inning, I guess. But, he was pretty good after that. The plan was to use Javier here because this was his regular starting day, which they did. So Javier goes 4, so you get 8 innings, and Javier was good. He gave up an earned run. It was a home run to Fernando Tatis to tie it. So I remember going into the series thinking, I would literally, I don't care what situation you're in, I would literally walk Fernando Tatis and intentionally walk him every single time he got up because he's going to burn you. He did here, but this tied the game in the 8th inning, so we hadn't necessarily lost it yet, but that was a tough one to give up there because if Javier could have gotten through that inning, you would have had Presley and felt good about your chances. But it was tied at this point. But Javier, if you can go 4 innings out of the bullpen and give up 1 earned run, you'll take that, I think, every time out. So, but Valdez's ERA at 2.25, first start of the season. He'll ramp things back up. He only threw, let's see here if I can find this here. I have to go, let's see here. Let's see, what did he throw here? It shouldn't be that hard to find. Trying to find this on my bad app. What necessarily did he throw? It shouldn't be that hard. Alright, here we go. He threw 72 pitches, which was about what I think they expected. So, but he threw 72, Javier 67. Presley comes in. Another problem here. Dusty's decision making. Not using Presley when he did in the 9th inning. Usually when you're at home, you're going to use your closer in a tied game because if you walk it off, you won't really need to use them anyhow. But Pressly throws 8 pitches and gets through the 9th inning pretty easily. I mean, there's no problem at all there. It's 2-2 at this point. I mean, you have to go back to Pressly. And he threw eight pitches. 8 pitches. Hadn't pitched. He had the stiff neck. Hadn't pitched since like the weekend series against the Rangers on Sunday. So this is his first time in 4 days. He's had 4 days off. And he throws 8 pitches in the 9th inning. And you take him out to go to anybody else in that bullpen that can't get it done. So what happens is, you can pretty much guess what happens when Dusty Baker makes a stupid decision. Like I said, when I usually talk bad, I have to keep things clean here. I can't really lay into him like I usually would if I'm talking to anybody else, really. But he goes to Ryan Stanek. Actually, not a terrible... Taking Pressly out's the mistake here, but going to Stanek, that's a guy you're going to have to ride or die with. He gives up a run. It was unearned. 2 walks, though. That wasn't good. So something that Stanek's been, hurt by lately has been the walks. He's walked a lot more guys. But gave up an unearned run. The Astros actually tie it here, so I got to look at this now because I'm getting far off track here. But the Astros do tie it, so, when Tatis hit the home run to tie it, Manny Machado hit the double. Had to be after an error because that run scored there. But McCormick hit a sac fly in a big spot to tie the game, and they had a chance to win it with Altuve, but they weren't able to do it. The Astros, just once again, cannot hit with runners on base. It's pretty bad. And then Dusty, so after, we go to the 11th here, and you bring in Brooks Raley, and Brooks Raley does exactly what he'll ultimately do. He was not good at all. Brooks Raley comes in here. He doesn't even record an out. Gives up 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. Didn't walk anybody, didn't strike out anybody. But he was a total incomplete mess from the start. Brooks Raley, welcome back to who we all know you to be. So he wasn't good, and then you bring in Belak to sort things out, but he wasn't good. He wasn't good either. Anyway, all told, they give up 7 runs in the top half of the 11th inning. The combination of Brooks Raley and Brandon Belak. So look at Belak's line. He actually gave up no earned runs, so I'm guessing there was another error mixed in somewhere there. But it was bad. Brooks Raley got charged with 4 runs, 3 were earned. Belak got charged with 3 runs, but none of his were earned. He got him mercifully through the 11th, and of course, when you're down 7 in extra innings, I don't care what extra inning rule they have, you're not going to win that game. So, but Dusty Baker's mistake there was not leaving Pressly in to go another inning. And usually I'd be against doing that. Well, with our bullpen, yes, except for Ryan Pressly. You have to, if he has a quick inning the way he did, you gotta keep him out there. It's just that simple. And let's not forget, Dusty did the same thing in Arlington. Talked about it last week. Did the same thing. It was Friday again, where had a quick inning, and you chose to go to Bryan Abreu after you took the lead, and Abreu gives it up. Adolis Garcia. Killed him all week, last weekend. So, one thing I can't stand is when you make a mistake, and Dusty does this often, and you make the same mistake over and over. I mean, dude, you've been managing for 20 years. How can you be this clueless? It amazes me. But Dusty Baker is not a good... I really didn't have a whole lot last year to say mean about him, and I tried to play things fair. And although I didn't agree with every decision, I don't think any fan's going to agree with every decision a manager makes because we all have differing opinions. But you're making idiotic moves that just are unexplainable after games. And, he'll sit there and he'll be calm and say, well, yeah, this happened and this happened and, he had pitched yesterday and, yeah, I don't want to overwork him. It's all nonsense. It's just excuses that can't be explained. I mean, Presley, it's basically Presley and then just a whole bunch of garbage in the bullpen right now. That's what it is. And when you have chances, I'm not saying they win this game if Presley stays in. I'm not saying he does. But at least you continue the game. You're at home, so you're going to use your closer in a tie game. And at that point, Presley had only thrown 8 pitches. I also don't like the whole, well, I'm saving him for tomorrow, when you may or may not even need to use him. You don't know. So I'm more about the here and now for, But it gets to a point, and after I get through Saturday's game here in just a minute, but they lose this game, 7 runs, Brooks Raley. Brooks Raley and, Brandon Bielak are really the reasons for this. Raley more so, as he's fallen back into his terrible, yeah. And, Brooks Raley had a good little stretch there where he had 7 outings or so where he was pretty good, and now he's back to the way he started the year because he struggled, I believe, in Saturday's game. The bullpen has been taxed here, but Dusty Baker has really no idea what he's doing. He's just pushing random buttons and hoping for the best, and it's not working. And he deserves a lot of blame for a lot of the Astros screw-ups this year. He does. He just does. He should be fired. Dusty Baker should be fired. I would much rather fire him and have Joe Espada, who I believe is still our bench coach, call the shots here, because Dusty Baker's too old to do it. Can't call. Can't manage the game properly. It's terrible. But yeah, Saturday, hoping to bounce back after, the tough loss, but Saturday was by far the toughest loss of the year. 2 guys to blame here. Dusty Baker will be one, obviously, because he just makes the same mistakes every game. But Taylor Jones is a total and complete retard idiot. Doesn't deserve to be up here. He's only up here because injuries galore. And I'm looking at the replay right now of the misplay and Tatis's mammoth 3-run shot. I actually did not watch this game, so I was tracking it on my phone. I was out. We were hanging out with family friends, so I did not see this game. We did go to the burger joint. They had the game on there, so there's a little bit going on there, but you felt good. I mean, they scored 2 in the first, 3 in the second. Actually, no, I'm way off here. But the Astros got off to a good start. Odorizzi pitched well. Look at the pitching line. Look at all these pitchers here. A lot of these will be sort of, again, it's going to be hard to really, I know the big points in the game, which I'll talk about here. But the Astros played pretty well. I mean, they lost the game. It was tough, but Darvish, who was the best starter for the Padres, goes 5 innings, gives up 5 runs, 4 earned. He walked 3, struck out 5. The Astros hit him pretty good. I mean, and Odorizzi goes 5 in the third. I mean, you couldn't have asked for more. You put yourself in a good position, and usually, the Astros have a 3-4 run lead late innings. Scares me. 5-6, I feel okay. But they were up 5 runs in this game and they couldn't hold it. So I'm not going to go through how the Astros scored here, but I will say that this will be an interesting game to get through here. So the Astros basically were up, scoring in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, scoring 2, 3, and then a single run. So 2 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. But it was 6-1 at this point. and you're feeling good, you need basically 9 more outs from the bullpen, and you even take a 6-1 lead into the 8th inning, so you really need 6 outs from your bullpen. Rayleigh came in after Odorizzi goes 5 1/3. He gets the final outs. He allows a hit, but got through the 6th for Odorizzi. Scrub comes in, gives up a hit, walks a batter, strikes out a guy, gets through the 7th. So, he gets 2 outs there. Joe Smith comes in to get the final out. Joe Smith really struggled here. I think he did get the final out there in the 7th. The 8th inning is where Smith struggled big time. 6-1 at this point. You really need 6 outs, and you got Presley there who's waiting to pitch in the 9th if you can just get to the 8th here. But Joe Smith really struggled in the 8th inning. He gave up 2 earned runs. He walked a batter. He struck out a batter. 3 hits. That's not a productive inning, but you still feel like with a 3-run lead in Presley that you'll be okay. So at that point, that really didn't hurt the Astros. I mean, you sort of let the Padres, you let them back in it. I mean, they're down 3, but you got to feel good with Presley coming in because he's been nails. But Presley gets 2 quick outs here. I kind of want to go to I don't know if I can find this, especially here. Here we go. I'll find it here. I want to go through how the 9th inning progressed here for Ryan Presley. So you're up 6-3 in this situation, right? So yeah, Presley comes in here. You get a ground out, right back to Presley. So he puts him out easily to get the first out. He strikes out Tommy Pham. Manny Machado comes up. So you're up 3 runs at this point, 2 outs, right? I mean, how can you screw this up? Manny Machado walks. Sitting here thinking to myself, Tommy Pham's usually the leadoff hitter. Tatis is waiting on close. If you can't get an out here, he's coming up quickly here. I'm not sure who it was because this is sort of out of the picture here, but maybe this is Cronenworth. I'm not sure. Yeah, Jake Cronenworth comes up after Machado and he doubles. So you got the 2 outs, but now runners at 2nd and 3rd. So Machado didn't come around to score on that play. Here comes Tatis. Now I'm watching this game on my phone, not watching the actual. I have the game, my at-bat. I have my at-bat app pulled up, and I'm watching the game day. I'm not watching the game. I can't watch the game from my phone. I don't have that package or whatever, the MLB.TV package. But anyway, not that I'd be able to watch it anyway because it's in market. I can't only watch out-of-market games, but I'm not going to talk about that. Tatis comes up. I'm watching this on game day. The minute I see his name pop up, I tell myself, walk him. Walk him. You have runners at 2nd and 3rd. First base is open. 2 outs. I know you're up 3. Usually, with most people, you're not going to walk a guy to bring up sort of the go-ahead run hitter at the plate. Usually, you wouldn't do that. But in this situation, after Tatis burns you yesterday, okay? I mean, he tied the game and brought it into extras, and then the Padres ended up winning. But I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Dusty, you got to walk this guy. Got to walk this guy. Doesn't walk him, and sure enough, Tatis absolutely demolishes a baseball. Well over the train tracks, left field. And the game is tied. And I sat there and said, Dusty, how do you make this? This goes back to what I just mentioned, the same mistake. I mean, Machado burned you yesterday, okay? You do not give him a chance to burn you again. He did this. I didn't bring this up last week, but he did the same thing last week with Adolis Garcia. He let him hit continuously. He hit the home run off of Abreu to win the game Friday. He hit 2 home runs Saturday. And then on Sunday, you allow Presley to pitch to him in an opportunity where you have a base open. Putting him on base isn't going to hurt you in any way, but you pitch to him and he hits a walk-off single back up the middle, basically. Yeah, Tuve did dive, stop it, threw it home, but he had no chance at the end of the day. But how do you, in what frame of mind do you have to sit there and say, I'm going to pitch to Tatis. We have a 3-run lead. There's 2 runners on base. He's the tying run, but I like my chances here. It just makes it with an open base. It makes absolutely 0 sense. So Tatis comes in, hits the ball. He sits there. He admires it. I mean, when you hit a ball that far, I guess you have the right to do that. And that was really a gut punch. And then I later find out that Taylor Jones, he is a complete and total just idiot, has no idea what the hell he's doing. But there's a pop-up in foul territory. He's playing first base. He gets over to the wall, knows where he's at. Apparently, I guess the ball sort of tails back into the sort of playing field. But he misreads the ball. It falls over his head as he falls back, sort of shocked that the ball actually... How can you not read a pop-up? How can you not read a pop-up? I just don't get it. But for you to make that error, I don't even think they ruled it an error, which is insane to think about, but when I put up this game, I was looking at the replay there, and Presley just was dumbfounded and put his hands on his knees and was like, that would have ended the game. But that is no excuse for Dusty Baker not walking him to begin with. It just didn't make any sense. So Dusty Baker making the same mistakes. And then things get crazy in the extra inning with this rule, which I have nothing against the whole runner on second base to start the inning. I don't have an issue with that rule, actually. I mean, both teams have the same advantage, basically, so it's not a big, Well, I'm surprised I'm almost at 37 minutes here. I'll try to speed things up a little bit, but the Padres score a run in the 10th. The Astros respond, getting their run. Same thing in the 11th. So at this point, it's 8-8. But you still feel bad, but you're just trying to find a way to win this game, and then question Dusty and his stupid decision making. But we're going through these pitchers here. Obviously, these are unearned runs when you do allow that runner to score there. So as I look at this here, and again, I'm just tracking this entire game basically on my phone. Saw when they had scored their runs and they were up 6-1. I was watching that when we were at the Burger Joint, but then we drove back to their place, and at this point, it's sort of I wasn't really keeping track a whole lot, but as the game was getting closer to the end and it was getting close, that's when I started watching it a little bit there. I need to get to the box score here, but Joe Smith didn't do a very good job because he allowed them back in it, but again, he wasn't really the cause. Although he allowed 2 runs, his ERA is up over 7, so he's not very good anyway. Brooks Raley ERA is also over 7 at 7.29. Scrub came in, ERA at 6, but he had his ERA down into the 3s, 2s, so he's been terrible. Presley comes in. I don't know how that was ruled. How was that not ruled an error on Taylor Jones? Taylor Jones. I don't know how you live with yourself after a game like that. I mean, I think he had a hit, but, dude, you really have major problems. 6 at-bats, 1 hit, struck out, but left 6 guys on base. This is the other Astros' big issue. 2, 4, 8. What's 8 plus 6? 14 plus 3, 17, 18, 19, 25, 28, 30. Left 30 men on base. Let me recheck here. So 2, 4, 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. Plus 3 is 17. Plus 2 is 19. Plus 6 is 25. Plus 3 is 28. And plus 2 is 30. So they left 30 men on base in this game. But with a 5-run lead, you feel good. But so Presley goes an inning and a third because they actually brought him in to finish off the 8th inning, going for a 4-out save here. But yeah, the 3 earned runs, that was Tatis's big blast. Again, don't know why Taylor wasn't charged with an error there, because if that's an error, all those runs are unearned. And it's a shame that he got charged with those. But walked a guy, struck out two, and the big home run. So his ERA balloons to 2.35 for Presley. Belak pitches the 10th, gives up that unearned run. Only one run though. It's hard. You put your reliever in a tough spot there. It didn't even. We gave up. No, he didn't even give up a hit. So. But he did walk a guy, struck out a guy. Belak was okay there. Stanek, again in the 11th inning, gave up the unearned run. He gave up a hit, struck out a guy. But Belak's ERA at this point was under 4 at 3.97. Stanek at 3.52. But you're running out of viable options at this point. You're waiting for basically Bryan Abreu, who, for some reason, Dusty Baker loves that guy. But Ralph Garza, a guy they brought up actually after they put I think he was brought up after McCullers went on the IL and gave up a 3-run home run. Ralph Garza here to Will Myers, and that was it. 12-9. They don't score in the bottom half of the 12th, or 11-8, I should say. 11-8. They lose this game, and I just go back to Dusty Baker's inability to make a simple decision. You allowed Adolis Garcia to beat you time and time again last weekend, and now you did the same thing with Tatis on Saturday. After he proved he could beat you Friday, Adolis Garcia proved he could beat you Friday and Saturday, and in key spots with open bases, you pitch to both of them. It makes zero sense. How do you not learn from mistakes? It's part of growing, which Dusty Baker has no more room to do. He's already had 20 years managing Major League Baseball teams. He's overall failed as a manager, I would say, because, the one World Series appearance he had was with the Giants, which he lost. Cubs, he had some good runs. Steve Bartman play, obviously he was coaching them. The Reds did nothing. Nationals, he did nothing. And, actually he got to the playoffs with the Reds time and time again, but lost in the first round. His 2 years, they were actually successful there. Nationals, nothing, and now he's here. The Astros did good in the playoffs last year, one game away from the World Series, but you just can't make simple moves. Again, Dusty Baker doesn't have an easy job trying to maneuver around this crappy bullpen, but it was tough to watch. And I'm not even watching the game. I'm tracking this game on game day, and I'm telling Dusty, walk this guy. Doesn't do it. He kills him, and sure enough. But going back and forth in extras and then ultimately losing it after playing 5 hours of baseball in a game that shouldn't even have been close, that was the worst loss of the year. But the Astros do salvage the game today. Won't really go into it. Greinke pitched well. Goes 8 innings, which we desperately needed. I feel like Greinke's done that a few times this year. So Greinke hasn't been great. He's been sort of up and down a little bit. But when we've needed a good outing, I feel like he's actually stepped up and done that. So he goes 8 innings today. The Astros, Kyle Tucker had a big 3-run home run. The fact that Taylor Jones was in the lineup at DH, me and Brian McTaggart were going back and forth this morning on Twitter, but I remember waking up this morning after knowing what happened yesterday, just not excited. It's hard for me to get excited when the Astros play and you get into a close ball game and you got Dusty Baker calling the shots. It's not exciting for me to know he's going to make the wrong decision, and that same wrong decision time and time again. It makes zero sense. But the Astros, again, were without, Brantley went on the IL, so they didn't have him. Jordan's dealing with some issue. He's got like a sore wrist. And also, Yuli Gurriel's dealing with a finger issue where he slid into second base and jammed his finger pretty bad. So you're without those 3 guys, which are 3 decent hitters. Now, let's see here. Who is it? Jordan Alvarez was struggling at the plate, so there's that. But, he's still been one of their better hitters. Yuli Gurriel been their best hitter. And Brantley is just a consistent guy that you expect to give you good at-bats every time he's up. So you're out without those three guys. We'll see. There's no news necessarily on Alvarez or Gurriel when it comes to IL stints. Brantley, of course, was put on. So McCormick's getting a little bit more of a shot out there. I think he's proving that he's probably a better option than Miles Straw at the end of the day. But yeah, you have Diaz in the infield. Taylor Jones, he isn't a Major League Baseball player. He should be ashamed of himself after what happened Saturday. He actually had an RBI single today. But the Astros were up 7-1 going into the ninth inning. Guess who comes in? Andre Scrub. Guess who sucks? Andre Scrub, yeah. Again today, he was terrible. But, our starters have to go 7 or 8 innings to give you any chance. Also gives Dusty Baker a lower percentage to actually find a way to screw up the game. But Scrub comes in and gives up 300 runs, ERA at 7.62, 2 home runs, 2 strikeouts. But Andre Scrub, I was watching this game just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But it's not unbelievable. It's totally believable with this bullpen and the SHIT show that it is. So, but yeah, Greinke really played well this game, and then Kyle Tucker had a big 3-run home run. He actually scored 4 in the first, 3 in the second, or 3 in the third actually. So they're up 7-0. But what lead can you feel safe with these days? So there's really no lead you can feel safe with. But the Astros now. Quick standings update. The A's didn't play spectacular this week, so they didn't actually lose a ton of ground. The Astros go 2-3 in their 5 games. 28-24. They're a game and a half back. So they're still in striking distance, but this season's going to be a long season if Dusty Baker continues to make mistakes and continues, again, not a good bullpen to work with. It's hard to find, reasonable guys in there. You sort of got to roll with Stanek and Presley. That's all you got, really. That's all you got. But yeah, we're coming up almost on 50 minutes, so I didn't expect the podcast, especially for a 5-game week, but I had a lot to talk about on Friday and Saturday there. But at least, the Astros do get the win today, so now, you play the Red Sox for 4 before things ease up a little bit and you go back out on the road. As far as injuries, talked about McCullers. Bryan Abreu got put on the IL. And they'd sent Paredes down. Paredes down. They sent him down, and they brought up... Well, this is actually for Odorizzi. So Odorizzi making a start on Saturday, activated off the IL. Paredes back down, which is... Yeah, Paredes is just a waste of time. But... Does Dusty make these decisions or James Click on who's activated, who's not? I'm curious on that and the corresponding moves that go along with that. But Bryan Abreu goes on the IL and he calls up Paredes. So Paredes spent, 2 days, 24 to 48 hours in the minor leagues? I'd bring a no-name up that actually might have a chance to actually throw strikes than Paredes. So yeah, there's that. But, so we're waiting on Alvarez and Gurriel. We're hoping that maybe one or both of them are back in the lineup tomorrow. I don't know where they're at with their sort of issues. I wouldn't like either of them to go on the IL, but that might be necessary. Brandon Bielak was optioned back for Nivaldo Rodriguez, really because they just don't have fresh arms, and if they need to use him, they will. But I don't know why. Option Scrub back or why? Yeah, I don't know who makes these decisions, but they're not. Those aren't the right decisions either. So if that's Dusty Baker, dude, you need to figure things out, or get out and get fired. James Click deserves some culpability for this, as well. And that all actually goes back to Jim Crane, who hired James Click, and firing Jeff Luna, which was a stupid decision, which he will regret. Just give it a few years. But when this team is, irrelevant and you don't have Jeff Luhnow to sort of find value in drafts, I could go on and on this week, but this was just a mess. But salvaging the game was important today, even though it wasn't easy in the ninth inning there. What bullpen pitcher makes things easy? But, Dusty Baker's just a complete inept manager. He's too old to do it, can't make easy decisions, doesn't watch the game in front of him. In fact, you go from AJ Hinch, who's so numbers-heavy, analytical guy, plays the numbers, goes by the book, to basically the opposite end of the spectrum, because Dusty's a guy who's old school, that watches the game that's actually being played on the field, and you make decisions based on your gut. And he's actually falling into the trap of being too analytical and going by numbers. I really don't know what Dusty Baker's philosophy is. Whatever it is, it's not the right one. But so I go into games today, and you have to expect your offense to score 7, 8, 9 runs for you to win the game, because if you're in any close contest with a manager that makes wrong decisions and a bullpen that just everywhere you turn it's terrible, you don't expect to win a lot of games. But I will hope and pray that we get a few of the starters. When McCullers gets healthy, we'll basically send 3 starters to that bullpen, which should help it a little bit there. You hope Stanek can sort of bounce back a little better. Of course, I'm not concerned about Presley, even though he blew the save on Saturday. I'm not concerned with him. But you have to find at least, 2 to 3 more guys that can get big outs and big spots. And right now you really don't have that. So, but only a game and a half back, so you'll take it. But yeah, we'll wait again. Just to reiterate, Brantley on the IL. We'll wait on Alvarez and Gurriel, see what their situation is. Bryan Abreu on the IL, along with Lance McCullers. Got some injuries we're dealing with, and we'll sort of go from there. But Diaz is doing a good job. McCormick's looked better, at least better than Miles Straw. Jason Castro, another guy who's on the IL, I believe, and Garrett Stubbs is up, but Garrett Stubbs is a waste of time as a hitter. So, but yeah, I'll wrap things up there. We're at for 50 minutes, so. Hang in there with me tonight. Hang in there if you're an Astros fan, and hopefully we have better things coming our way here. Hopefully we can do a good job. We'll play the Red Sox for 4 tomorrow afternoon, Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day to all you guys out there, even if this is a little late. And they'll play 4 with the Sox, and then they'll go out to Toronto for 3. So full 7-game week. But yeah, I'll wrap things up there, and we'll talk to you next Sunday night.